When I saw those pink balloons floating innocently above Jessica's living room 3 weeks before my wedding, I never imagined they would become the weapon that would destroy 2 lives in one explosive moment. The silence that followed when those balloons popped and revealed my fiancé's name was the loudest sound I'd ever heard in my life. Before I dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below, hit that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe to hear more stories about standing up for yourself when it really matters. Now, let me take you back to how it all began. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 28 years old, and I teach art at Lincoln Elementary School in Ohio. 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect life mapped out ahead of me. My wedding dress was hanging pristine in the closet, a beautiful ivory gown that had cost me 3 months of savings. The venue was booked, the flowers were ordered, and David Thompson, my fiancé of 2 years, seemed like everything I'd ever wanted in a husband. We'd been together since our senior year of college, and everyone in both our families said we were the perfect match. That Tuesday evening in March changed everything I thought I knew about my life. David had left his phone on our kitchen counter while he went to shower after work, and it kept buzzing with message notifications. I thought it might be the wedding caterer with an urgent question about the reception menu, since we'd been going back and forth about dietary restrictions all week. So I glanced at the screen, expecting to see a business contact. What I saw instead made my blood freeze in my veins and my hands start trembling uncontrollably. Baby, I can't wait to see you tonight. The doctor confirmed it's a girl. I'm so excited I could cry. The message was from a contact, saved as Jess, and when I opened it, I realized it was my cousin Jessica. My 25-year-old cousin Jessica, who'd been acting increasingly strange around me for the past several months, always avoiding direct eye contact during family dinners and making sudden excuses to leave gatherings early whenever David and I arrived together. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst as I scrolled up through their conversation history. What I found was months and months of messages that painted a picture I never could have imagined. Intimate photos sent late at night, detailed plans about where and when to meet, sweet messages calling each other pet names that made me physically nauseous, and then the absolute crusher that made me sink to my kitchen floor. I wish things were different between us, but Sarah can never find out about this. After her wedding, we'll figure out how to handle everything with the baby. I sat there on my cold kitchen tiles, surrounded by scattered wedding invitations that suddenly seemed like cruel jokes, reading message after message that detailed their months-long affair. The affair that had resulted in my cousin carrying my fiancé's child. My cousin was pregnant with my future husband's baby, and I was exactly 3 weeks away from walking down the aisle to marry this man who had been living a complete double life. But here's something important about betrayal that most people don't understand. Sometimes it doesn't just break you into pieces. Sometimes, if you're smart about it and you channel that pain correctly, it transforms you into something far more dangerous and calculating than the people who hurt you ever imagined you could become. As I sat there with David's phone in my shaking hands, listening to the shower running upstairs, a plan began forming in my mind. Not a plan for confrontation or dramatic scenes or throwing his belongings on the lawn. No, this was going to be something much more sophisticated. Something that would give them exactly what they deserved, but in front of everyone who mattered most. I was going to let them dig their own graves, and then I was going to hand them the shovels. The very next morning, as if the universe was orchestrating the perfect opportunity for my revenge, Jessica called me. Her voice was sickeningly sweet, with that fake cheerful tone she'd been using around me for months that I now realized was pure guilt. "Sarah, honey, I have some really exciting news that I want to share with the whole family this weekend. I just found out I'm pregnant. Can you believe it? I'm planning a gender reveal party at my house on Saturday afternoon. Would you and David like to come? I'd really love to have my favorite cousin there for this special moment." I took a deep breath, steadied my voice, and smiled into the phone even though she couldn't see me. "Of course, Jessica. We wouldn't miss it for the world. Congratulations, sweetie. I'm so happy for you. Do you need any help with the preparations?" "Oh, that's so sweet of you to offer, but I think I have everything under control. Just bring yourselves and maybe some champagne for toasting." "Actually," I said, my mind racing with possibilities, "I insist on helping with something. What about the balloon arrangements? I could handle all of that for you. I have some really creative ideas that I think would make this reveal extra special and memorable for everyone." Jessica sounded surprised but delighted. Are you absolutely sure? That would be amazing, Sarah. You're always so artistic and creative. I trust you completely to make it beautiful. Perfect. Leave it all to me. I promise this will be a gender reveal that nobody in our family will ever forget. That weekend, I found myself sitting in Jessica's beautifully decorated living room, surrounded by my entire extended family, watching my pregnant cousin glow with happiness while my lying fiancé sat right beside me on the couch, his hand resting possessively on my knee, playing the role of the perfect supportive boyfriend to perfection. If I hadn't discovered the truth about their relationship, I might have actually believed his caring, devoted act. "Oh, Jessica, you look absolutely radiant," Aunt Margaret gushed, bustling around her daughter with obvious pride and excitement. "Pregnancy suits you so well, sweetheart. And the father? When do we finally get to meet this mysterious man who's made you so happy?" Jessica's eyes flickered nervously toward David for just a split second before returning to her mother's face. "Soon, Mom. Very soon, I promise. He's just dealing with some really complicated family situations right now, but everything will work out." I almost started laughing out loud right there on the couch. Complicated family situations? That was certainly one creative way to describe being engaged to someone else. David squeezed my hand gently and leaned over to whisper in my ear, "Isn't this wonderful news? Jessica's going to make such an amazing mother. I'm so happy for her." The sheer audacity of this man, sitting there comforting his fiancée about his own secret child, was absolutely breathtaking in its boldness. "She really is glowing," I replied sweetly, my voice dripping with honey. "Pregnancy definitely suits her beautifully. I honestly can't wait to see what this baby ends up looking like. I bet she'll be gorgeous." Throughout that entire afternoon, I played my role with Oscar-worthy perfection. I was the supportive, loving cousin, the excited, soon-to-be-married woman who was thrilled about becoming an aunt. I enthusiastically complimented Jessica's nursery color schemes, asked detailed questions about potential baby names, and even offered to throw her a baby shower in a few months. But the whole time, I was watching them, both of them, the way David's eyes lingered on Jessica when he thought nobody was paying attention, the way Jessica kept unconsciously touching her small bump and smiling in his direction across the crowded room, the way they both seemed to be performing happiness while dancing around the massive secret they were keeping from everyone. That night, I went to 4 different party supply stores across town. I bought dozens of pink balloons, multiple tanks of helium, and most importantly, small strips of thin paper and the finest tip permanent marker I could find. I spent the entire evening at my kitchen table, carefully writing the same message over and over again on hundreds of tiny paper strips. "Sarah knows the truth about the father." Each strip was rolled up so small it was practically invisible to the naked eye, then carefully inserted into individual balloons before I inflated them with helium. To anyone casually looking at them, they appeared to be perfectly normal, beautiful pink balloons suitable for any gender reveal celebration. But when those balloons eventually popped and released their contents, well, that was going to tell a very different story entirely. I also purchased several extra-large specialty balloons designed for dramatic reveals. These weren't going to contain just confetti and small paper strips. These were going to release full-sized banners with messages that would ensure every single person in that room understood exactly what was happening and who was responsible for the deception they'd been witnessing. Tuesday morning arrived, and I loaded up my car with 4 dozen gorgeous pink balloons, along with matching ribbons and decorative weights. When I arrived at Jessica's house to deliver them, she practically threw her arms around me in gratitude. "Sarah, these are absolutely perfect. You've outdone yourself. They're so beautiful and festive. You're going to be such a wonderful wife and mother someday. David is so incredibly lucky to have someone as thoughtful and generous as you." If only she had any idea how thoughtful and generous I was actually being by giving her exactly what she deserved. As I drove home that morning, David called me from his office. "Hey, beautiful. Jessica's gender reveal party should be really fun this weekend. It's so nice of you to help her out with everything. You're always so good to your family." "Of course I am," I said calmly, catching a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. I looked composed, collected, completely in control. Family means everything to me, David. Everything. Saturday morning dawned with absolutely perfect weather for what was about to become the most memorable family gathering in our history. I spent over an hour getting ready, carefully choosing a soft yellow sundress that made me look innocent, supportive, and completely unsuspecting. David complimented my appearance multiple times during the drive to Jessica's house, telling me repeatedly how lucky he was to have such a caring, family-oriented fiancé. "You know what? You're going to be an absolutely amazing aunt to this baby," he said, leaning over to kiss my cheek as we walked up the front steps to Jessica's house. "Oh, I think I'm going to end up being much more involved in this child's life than anyone currently realizes," I replied with a bright smile that he completely misunderstood. Jessica's backyard had been transformed into a pink and blue wonderland. Streamers hung from every tree branch. There was a professional "he or she" banner stretched between two posts, and my balloons, dozens and dozens of them, floated innocently above the crowd of approximately 30 family members and close friends who had gathered for the celebration. Jessica looked absolutely stunning in a flowing white maxi dress that perfectly showcased her small but definitely noticeable baby bump, and she positively radiated happiness as everyone fussed over her and offered their congratulations and well wishes. I mingled effortlessly through the crowd, graciously accepting congratulations on my upcoming wedding, enthusiastically discussing honeymoon plans with various relatives, and playing the part of the blissfully unaware, excited bride-to-be with absolute perfection. But underneath my pleasant exterior, I was constantly watching and analyzing every interaction. David kept stealing glances at Jessica whenever he thought no one was looking in his direction. Jessica kept unconsciously touching her belly and beaming at him from across the decorated yard. The moment of truth was rapidly approaching, and my heart was starting to race with anticipation. My Aunt Margaret pulled me aside during the party, her face full of concern and affection. "Sarah, sweetheart, I'm so grateful that Jessica has you in her life during this time. She's been incredibly secretive about this entire pregnancy situation, and I worry about her trying to handle everything completely alone." "Don't worry about Jessica being alone, Aunt Margaret," I said softly, patting her arm reassuringly. "Trust me when I tell you that she definitely has more support than you realize." Finally, the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. Jessica gathered the entire crowd around the elaborate balloon display, her hands clasped together in front of her chest, practically vibrating with nervous excitement. "Thank you all so much for being here with me today," she began, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "This baby already means absolutely everything to me, and having all of you here to share this incredible moment, it's more perfect than I ever could have imagined." I noticed David moving closer to the back edge of the crowd, positioning himself where he could see everything clearly, but trying to remain inconspicuous. But I could read his face like an open book. He was nervous, excited, and proud all at the same time. He was watching his secret child's gender reveal with all the anticipation and joy of the father he actually was. "These beautiful balloons that my wonderful cousin Sarah arranged are going to tell us whether we're having a boy or a girl," Jessica continued, raising a sharp pin high above her head theatrically. "On the count of 3, we'll pop them all simultaneously and see what surprises fall out." My heart was pounding so hard I was sure everyone around me could hear it, but my hands remained perfectly steady. This was it, the moment I had been meticulously planning and preparing for an entire week. The moment that was going to change absolutely everything for everyone in this backyard. "1!" Jessica called out loudly, her voice carrying across the yard. I caught David's eye across the crowd and gave him my sweetest, most loving smile. He smiled back warmly, completely unaware that his entire world was about to explode, along with those innocent-looking pink balloons. 2! I could see the anticipation on every face surrounding me. Cameras were ready, phones were recording, and everyone was holding their breath in excitement. 3! The explosion of sound was absolutely deafening. 30 balloons, popping simultaneously, created a sharp crack that echoed off the house and fence. Pink confetti began raining down on everyone like a celebration shower, and then, complete, absolute, suffocating silence as hundreds of small paper strips fluttered to the ground like damning evidence falling from the sky. I watched in fascination as faces around the yard began changing expressions. Confusion came first as people bent down to pick up the mysterious paper strips, then shock as they unrolled them and read my carefully written message. Then, absolute horror as the implications sank in and they started looking around at each other, at Jessica, at David, and finally at me. But my masterpiece wasn't finished yet. The 3 extra-large specialty balloons I had strategically placed at the very center of the display contained my pièce de résistance, and as they popped with even louder bangs, enormous banners unfurled dramatically in the shower of pink confetti. David Thompson is the real father, and ask Sarah how she found out. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 or 15 seconds. Jessica's face had drained of every drop of color, leaving her looking like a ghost in her white dress. David appeared as though he might actually vomit right there on the grass. Aunt Margaret was staring at one of the paper strips in her trembling hand, then looking at David, then at Jessica, then back at me with growing understanding and horror. Finally, Uncle Robert's booming voice shattered the silence like a gunshot. What in the hell is this supposed to mean? Every single eye in that backyard turned to focus on me. This was my moment. The moment I had been preparing for, rehearsing for, dreaming about. I stepped forward confidently, my voice clear, calm, and carrying easily across the stunned crowd. It means that exactly 3 weeks before our wedding, I discovered that my fiancé has been conducting a months-long affair with my cousin Jessica. This baby girl you're all here celebrating today is David's daughter. The explosion of voices that followed made the balloon popping sound like a gentle whisper in comparison. Aunt Margaret started screaming at Jessica. My mother grabbed David by his shirt collar. Several cousins began shouting questions and accusations. My 78-year-old grandmother marched directly up to Jessica and slapped her hard across the face. But I wasn't finished with my revelation yet. I found months of text messages between them, I continued, somehow managing to make my voice carry over the chaos erupting around me. Detailed plans about when and where to meet, intimate photos, conversations about how they wished circumstances were different, discussions about how they would handle the situation after they let me go through with marrying him. Jessica finally found her voice, tears now streaming down her reddened cheeks. Sarah, please, let me explain. Explain what exactly, Jessica? I cut her off sharply. Explain how you looked me directly in the eye for months while helping me plan my wedding. Explain how you attended my bridal shower and gave a speech about how happy you were for me. Explain how you called me yesterday to thank me for arranging the very balloons that just exposed your lies to our entire family. David stepped forward desperately, his face a mask of panic. Sarah, please, just let me... Let you what, David? Let you continue lying to me? Let you marry me next weekend while your pregnant mistress sits in the front row of our ceremony? Absolutely not. I pulled my engagement ring off my finger and dropped it at his feet, where it landed in the pink confetti with a small metallic sound. The wedding is completely canceled. All the deposits and cancellation fees are your financial responsibility now. And Jessica, congratulations on your baby girl. I sincerely hope she grows up to have more integrity and honesty than either of her parents. As I walked toward my car, I turned back one final time to address the shocked crowd. And for everyone wondering, yes, I planned every single detail of this reveal. Every balloon, every message, every moment was designed to give them exactly what they deserved. Some betrayals deserve to have an audience. 6 months later, I heard Jessica had a healthy daughter. David's name is on the birth certificate, and they're apparently attempting to make their relationship work. Most of our family has cut contact with both of them. As for me, I've never been happier. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting angry, it's getting creative.